People didn't vote for Jeremy because he was a nice, soft-spoken, genial old fellow with a beard. They voted for Jeremy Corbyn for what he represents politically. What is the situation that faces people? You know, the people in Westminster, many of the people in Westminster, particularly the Tories, but including not a few Labour MPs, live, quite frankly, in a bubble. They live in a bubble and they're isolated from the real conditions of life. What's the situation that faces, what are the issues that face working class people in the millions? The fact of the matter is that more than 3 million people in this country, according to official statistics, are living in permanent poverty. A third of the population are on the brink of poverty. We don't have the proletariat anymore, they call it the precariat. Thousands, where it was thousands in the past, there are now millions of people who have jobs that are precarious, that are insecure, that are uncertain. The future that faces young people today is far worse than the future I faced when I was in my 20s. Look at housing. I've got 2 children at home in their early 20s. I've lost my hair worrying about where these children of mine are ever going to live. Because the fact is, in Brentwood, they cannot afford to buy and they cannot afford to rent. The situation that they face is explosive. You know, there's not a housing crisis in this country. There's an absolute housing emergency. And that has to have a big effect upon the Labour Party. We are spending as a country £27 billion every year on housing benefit. That doesn't go to the tenants, of course. That's a £27 billion subsidy that goes directly to landlords. In the last 5 years, we spent £3.5 billion putting homeless families in bed and breakfasts in places like Southend. What could we not do if we were able to use that money to build houses? But what's the situation? According to yesterday's Guardian, the number of affordable homes built in the last year is the lowest for 24 years. It's the lowest for 24 years. It's an absolutely explosive issue. Now that has an effect on people's thinking. That has an effect on the way they look upon political parties. We do not want the old politics anymore. People can see the NHS is falling to bits around their ears. This morning's Guardian, thousands of beds to go in NHS shake-up. And of course there's a big discussion going on as between Basildon Hospital, Chelmsford Hospital and Southend as to who is going to have an A&E and who isn't going to have an A&E. And of course they're keeping the powers that be are playing the cards very close to the chest. But you can guarantee that all of these big hospital groups, all of these big hospitals are going to lose out over the next few years. And there's a lot of discussion about the funding of the NHS. But I've been trying to argue with people, you know, we should get off and get away from the idea of discussing NHS funding. What we should be discussing is the river of money that's flowing out of the NHS. The millions and billions of pounds that's being looted from the NHS by privatisation contracts and by PFI. You know, these PFI contracts are an absolute scam. They were started by John Major in 1991, 1992, and they were picked up and run with big time by Gordon Brown under a Labour government. But it's an absolute scam. If you were to buy a house with a 30-year mortgage on a 15% interest rate, people would think you were mad. And then if you were then told, oh, by the way, after the end of this 30 years, the house wouldn't belong to you, you only just had 30 years of occupation, they would think you're even more mad. But that's the situation that the PFIs are operating under. The big spanking brand new Queen's Hospital in Romford cost so much to build and it's been paid off. It's already been paid off. But for the next 25 years, that NHS trust will be paying somewhere between 10 and 12 million pounds to the owners of the PFI stock. There's actually a market in PFI stock, a very lucrative market, and people who have PFI stock are able to sell it and trade PFI stock because it's so lucrative. It's a complete scam. And if you add that to the privatisation schemes, where all kinds of services and ambulance services and laboratory services and all kinds of other services are privatised, you can see there's a huge outflow of cash, and the NHS has been atomised, it's been broken up and disintegrated for a reason, because it's easier then to split it up and use all of these little separate parts and to open them up for privatisation. It doesn't matter what particular yardstick you use. It doesn't matter what you use to gauge living standards. The fact is that the younger generation today have got a worse position in front of them than we had, than I had, even all of those years ago when I was a teenager. Living standards are declining. Living standards are getting worse. And that's the reason behind the election of Jeremy Corbyn. Now, when we had a big rally, I remember we had a big rally in Chelmsford on the 2nd of September last year. It was clear then, a few days before the declaration, it was clear that Jeremy was going to win. But one of the things we said in that big rally, 500 people in Chelmsford Civic Theatre, the biggest political rally in Essex for decades, one of the things we said was that we've got to use this rally as a starting point to transform the Labour Party, to make the Labour Party more socialist, to reinvigorate the Labour Party, to get members into the Labour Party, to bring political discussion back into the Labour Party. And that has been the role really of Momentum at the present time. Momentum isn't a separate party. It's never been separate and apart from the Labour Party. All the membership of Momentum are themselves active and involved members of the Labour Party, as I am, as I have been for a long number of years. But we believe Momentum has an important role to play as a lever, if you like, as a lever for bringing debate and discussion back into the Labour Party. And if you think about it, it's absolutely essential to do that, simply because there are so many in the Labour Party, sadly, who want to see Jeremy Corbyn fail. He's got the best mandate ever of any leader as far as the rank and file of the Labour Party is concerned. But he's got the worst mandate ever as far as the parliamentarians are concerned. And it's a pity, isn't it, that 170 members of the Labour Party can push us down the road of having a fresh election all over again, all of that time wasted over the course of the summer of this year. And remember, the Labour Party was making gains in the opinion polls right up until April and May, right up until the time that there was an attempted coup against Corbyn in June of this year. And the Labour Party has taken a long time to recover, but it is now beginning to recover those positions in the opinion poll. So I think Momentum has a role to play. We had Momentum really here in Essex before Momentum existed, because one of the things we did after our big rally in Chelmsford Civic Theatre, one of the things we discussed, we said, look, we've got a big meeting here, a huge rally here, we need to try to develop some kind of, we didn't use the word in the sense of momentum with a capital N, but we said we need to use this to bring momentum to the struggle to